one of the first things that I said or read was that he was responsible for a coup. Coup is short for coup d'etat, which is a French word or phrase, which means to overthrow the government or to take over. That wasn't going to happen from people forcing their way into that building. There were no lawmakers, no people in power who these people were going to take their place or take control. That's what a coup is. Welcome to Brutally Honest Talk Radio. This is Elmo the Conservative. Hope everyone's doing well this evening. I'm back with another episode, and I was abruptly given a subject in the last few days that I want to talk about, and it is January 6th. Going back to that, because this is still an issue, and there are many things about that day that are being put out as disinformation. Misinformation is you don't understand or you didn't get the truth or the straight story. Disinformation is purposefully and intentionally putting something out that you know is not true. So this was based on an article that I recently read, and I'm putting the link to this in the description where people can see it. It's called The Verdict of History by Robert Reich. He did a Substack. So, Reich, I'm calling you out. You're wrong for this. And the subheading is Trump and his fascist glorification. You talk about the irony of someone calling a person a fascist and their last name is Reich, is in the Third Reich. Yeah, you can't make this up. So you have the link that you can click on and go to it, but the author is Robert Reich from earlier this month. So that's the whole article. Pulled something out of that. I mean, it's just totally slamming and going in on him from the beginning. But this is the part that I pulled out. All right. He must be remembered as a president who claimed without evidence that an election was stolen from him. Al Gore was the first one that I know of to do that, and different Democrats have been doing it since, including Stacey Abrams in the state where I live, Georgia, saying that it was stolen from her. But they kind of made that a thing. Trump doing it, I don't think that's a Republican thing. He did do it. I don't believe that he had evidence. He may have thought that it was. A lot of conservatives have jumped on board with that. But, I don't have any evidence about that or information that's concrete enough. So I don't go down that rabbit hole. And so that's not a fight for me. But continuing on, he says, who then instigated a coup that included false electors, threats to state officials, and an assault on the U.S. Capitol that resulted in 5 deaths and injuries to 174 police officers. That is a false statement just in relation to the number of people that died that day. So let's just get the numbers right. Let's just tell the truth. Let's just get the numbers right. Just like this thing was going on with COVID deaths. Remember when the people that were compiling the statistics, because the people that died who had COVID, and one of the best examples of that is if someone had COVID and they got killed in a motorcycle accident, it would be listed, or many times was listed in that kind of situation, that the cause of death was COVID, to beef the numbers up and make things worse than they really were. So of course that is not right. And listen, here's something that I've learned. You got reasonable people. What reasonable people understand to be true. What reasonable men read. We've heard that in relation to contracts and things that are that are documented that are going to hold up in court. Even if they don't understand the law and have been to law school or understand legal jargon, what reasonable men read, what you would understand something to be. So let me keep going with this. But yeah, just talking about, and you may find some other things, other problems in this, but just talking about the number of people that died on that day, because there was one person that died, and this thing is saying 5. So let's go in and break this down a little, because I didn't know much about this or where this was coming from. So I just did a Google search. This is what Google said back to me when I asked the question, how many people died on January 6th? That was a question I asked, and what I got back was one person, Ashley Babbitt, died as a direct result of an injury, a gunshot wound, sustained on January 6th at the U.S. Capitol. 4 other people also died on that day or the day after in connection to the events, but not from injuries in the way the question implies. Assuming that I'm implying something, I just asked that question. What Reich is implying is that Trump is connected to that and it's his fault, which I'm going to read some details about these other deaths. You may or may not already know. If you already know, I'm preaching to the choir, okay? And if you do already know, I will say this to you. Keep pushing back on the truth or against lies. Keep pushing back when you know something not to be true. Or I looked into this to see, was there something that I didn't know that was reported about this? Let me find out. So do your research, push back on the lies. And I'm talking about this today because people like Reich keep bringing it up, and some left-wing people and some centrists or contrarians keep bringing it up. It's a dead and gone and a back issue, but it's important that we remember history correctly and remember it in the right way. Because this man said the day before, I want people to show up with a peaceful protest. Make sure that you're peaceful. That's it. I never saw him saying to force your way into the building or to become violent or disruptive in any way. But anyway, getting back to this. This is what Google said in AI mode. One person, Ashley Babbitt, died as a direct result of an injury sustained on the 6th at the U.S. Capitol. 4 other people also died on that day or the day after in connection to the events, but not from injuries in the way the question implies. Brian Sicknick, a Capitol police officer, died the day after the attack. The medical examiner determined the cause of death to be natural causes. 2 strokes. That's rough. He had 2 strokes on that day, though the stress of the riot was noted as a contributing factor. I mean, I guess that's possible that because of something that happened yesterday, a person can have a stroke the day after and not while they're in the middle of the stress. What I have to say about that is maybe he should not be a police officer if he could not handle the stress of that day and being around it. And also want to say, as I said at the time that this happened, the Capitol Police are not the same as Washington, D.C.'s finest, meaning the D.C. police, the District of C or District of Columbia police that fight crimes on the street of D.C. are not the same as the Capitol Police in the building. They saw very little action. Nothing close to this would happen 99% of the time in the building, in their career. They're not used to this. So there should have been more officers. I was saying that when we all saw that video footage of the overweight officer backing up the steps while Viking Boy and the rest of the crowd were not listening to him and coming up the steps. And he's going like this, back up, back up, back up. He's by himself. Why is he by himself? I mean, the officers or whoever's in charge, whoever is the chief of the Capitol Police knew that this event was coming. Why don't you have enough officers, enough backup, enough security? So there could have been more officers there. And I'm curious if the Capitol or the Capitol Police consider that a riot, why didn't they call in riot police? Like they have, just like you have SWAT, they have people that handle riots and they wear the riot gear and they're trained for those specific situations. I don't remember seeing any of that. I don't. But one thing I do remember seeing is an officer letting the Viking Boy, y'all know who I'm talking about, and the people that were with him into the building, letting them in, and then proceed down the hall like an elementary school field trip. No conflict or altercation at all, just letting them in. And then another person, this man on the side, who seemed to be a legitimate protester, he shows up and confronts the officer and goes, "What are you doing? Why are you letting them in? Why are you letting them into the building?" And the officer, he just turned his head, away from the man. He said nothing. Just turned and looked away, which I interpret as, I'm following my orders. I'm doing what I was told. It is so bizarre. I mean, while we're on the subject, I'm still trying to know or what it means when at the hearing, there was an FBI agent who was being questioned, sitting on the stand, so to speak, sitting in a chair with a microphone, and was asked, were there other FBI agents in the crowd that day? And he said that he couldn't answer that or could not confirm or deny. We know what that means. And if there were agents in the crowd and he was able to say it, he would have said it. If they didn't have any, all right. And moving on. So Kevin Greason, a rioter, died of a heart attack. If you feel your blood pressure rising that much and feel that much stress in something that was called to be a peaceful protest, leave. Anyone there could have left at any time. There's basically two kinds of people there. There were officers, or three kinds: officers, protesters, and then people that wanted to go off the rails and make it something different. The officers had to stay. It was their job. Somebody who was a rioter, well, if you were really truly a rioter, you chose to riot. You chose to stay. They had a heart attack from the excitement. Now, didn't they kind of anticipate that? If they were provoking it, if they were stirring it up, like you're in the middle of this, you're the kindling for the fire, and it's overwhelming. It's coming over you so hard and so much that it causes a health issue. So, I want to say this. I'm sorry that anybody died as a result of this. I'm sorry. I don't want anyone to die. I love peaceful protests. I love people showing their opinion or protest or whatever, speaking out against whatever they want to do, having the freedom to do that. And they could have left at any time. But even if they were killed, if there were 5, 6, 7 people on that day that were shot by police officers, that was shot, why are you blaming Trump for that? He has nothing to do with it. And most of these people came from outside of DC or outside of the area. So again, this is just, when you really hate somebody, you could tie them to bad weather. You could blame them for it being cloudy or raining, or there being a tornado, or you could try to. It may not hold up very well, but if you wanted to, you could blame them for something else just because you want to vilify them. And continuing on, Benjamin Phillips, a rioter, died of a stroke. Roseanne Boyland, a rioter, died of an accidental amphetamine overdose. Now, this is a real interesting one. Methamphetamine is crystal meth. Amphetamines, yeah, I guess there's some that are sold over the counter. But please, why are we taking somebody who ingested too many drugs, or they accidentally, let's say that's true, they accidentally had an overdose. Now, I mean, Reich, he doesn't mention her. He doesn't mention this Roseanne Boyland, but he's including her in the number of the people that died. And his whole thing is trying to connect it to Trump and saying that this is why these people died and this many people died is because of him. All right. And then it also said, one of the first things that I said or read was that he was responsible for a coup. Coup is short for coup d'etat, which is a French word or phrase, which means to overthrow the government or to take over. That wasn't going to happen from people forcing their way into that building. There were no lawmakers, no people in power who these people were going to take their place or take control. That's what a coup is. All right. So it's just, again, just over dramatizing something, calling something that it is not. So no, there was no coup. The next day, we still had the government the way that we know it to be now. And also, my understanding is that Mike Pence, understandably so, as well as Pelosi and other people that work in the Capitol, we're not there. We're not there, or um, we're in danger. So that's it. That's it. And so we must challenge these things. There's so many people that are talking shit and just making stuff up, that when you hear something that you are 90 or 95% sure is bull and is not true, ask them, where did you hear that, or who told you that? And you'll find out. But a lot of people are getting their news off of social media, or off of a TikTok video, or a tidbit. So that is not right. See what I found out? I learned something. I didn't know about all these people. I had heard about there being one death on that day that was the result of somebody getting hit in the head with a fire extinguisher. I didn't see any mention of that in this, in the report that I got back from Google. So I learned something. But so this is just one thing and one example of how push back and challenge people. This is something that happened a few years ago, and the point of history is to know it so that we can learn from it, to know what we should keep doing or what we should stop doing, what is right and what is wrong. How can you tell that? By looking at the results of what happened. But also we need to know our laws so that we know when something actually breaks the law. You can't say that somebody crossed the line if the line in the sand is invisible, if that makes sense. So, hey, that's it. And I'm out. Thank you all for your time. And also remember, you can follow us on not just YouTube, but you can hear this show on Amazon, iTunes, Spotify, and you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and I will catch you all on the next episode. Take care.